the last time that we held speaker series, ma'am, was before the pandemic kicked in. So, as we know, being graduated from Rouse, ma'am, this is not something out of the blue. We have in the past have had leadership workshops that promote leaders, and apart from that, we've had several dignitaries who have come into the institution and have guided the kids. For example, as I said, the previous occasion was graced by the deputy collector. Ma'am, if I have to explain it in layman terms, ma'am, he was the third most powerful executive personnel in this district. So that is a big thing. And he guided the students well in their future endeavors and with respect to career, etc. On that note, I request Y. Koteswar Rao sir, our chairman sir, to speak a few words on this occasion. With thunderous applause, please.
My dear students, good morning all of you. మన రావుస్ కాలేజీలో ఎన్నో ఈవెంట్స్, ఏ డిగ్రీ కాలేజీలో బహుశా రాష్ట్ర స్థాయిలో కూడా ఎటువంటి డిగ్రీ కాలేజీలో, ఈవెన్ ఐ డోంట్ థింక్ సో ఈవెన్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ ఆల్సో, ఇటువంటి ఈవెంట్స్ సినర్జీ అయితేనేమి, ఆర్పిఎల్ అయితేనేమి, యాక్టివిటీస్ అంటే చదువుతో పాటు ప్లేస్మెంట్స్, ఇన్ని రకాల ప్లేస్మెంట్స్, ఇన్ని రకాల కంపెనీలు రావడం, ఇది నిజంగా చాలా గర్వకారణం. దీనందరికీ కారణం మన స్టాఫ్ మెంబర్స్, మీకున్నటువంటి మూల స్తంభాలైన స్టాఫ్ మెంబర్స్తో పాటు మీకున్నటువంటి యంగ్ అండ్ ఎనర్జెటిక్ డైనమిక్ యంగ్ డైరెక్టర్ శివ సంకేత్ అండ్ ఇక్కడి నుంచి మీకు ఇంకొక అడిషనల్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ జాయిన్ అయింది, దట్ ఈజ్ మిసెస్ శివాని శివ సంకేత్. తన గురించి మనం తర్వాత మళ్ళీ చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. తను బెంగళూరు యూనివర్సిటీలో అక్కడ చదివారు ఇంజనీరింగు, అక్కడ యూనివర్సిటీ టాపరు, స్కూల్ డేస్ నుంచి అన్నిట్లో టాపరు. అటువంటి ఆవిడ యాడ్ ఆన్ కావడం వల్ల ఇద్దరికి A+B బోత్ ఆఫ్ దెమ్ ఇద్దరు కలిసి, ఇంతకుముందు ఓన్లీ శివ సంకేత్ డైరెక్షన్లో ఉండేది, ఇప్పుడు విత్ శివానీతో కూడా యాడ్ అయిన తర్వాత మచ్ మోర్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ విల్ బి యాడెడ్ టు అవర్ కాలేజ్. అండ్ ఈరోజు జరిపేటువంటి స్పెషల్ ఈవెంట్ ఏమిటంటే మిస్ సెలెస్టే. షీ ఈజ్ ఫ్రమ్ యునైటెడ్ స్టేట్స్ ఆఫ్ అమెరికా. అమెరికా నుంచి మామూలుగా మన రిక్వెస్ట్ మీద ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి మీతో తన ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ షేర్ చేసుకోవడానికి, అంటే ఒక ఉమెన్గా ఉండి అక్కడ యూనివర్సిటీస్లో చదివి అక్కడ డిఫరెంట్ కార్పొరేట్ కంపెనీస్లో 6 సంవత్సరాలుగా వర్క్ చేస్తూ, ఒక్కటి కాదు రకరకాల మేనేజ్మెంట్స్ లైక్ హెచ్ఆర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ అయితేనేమి, మార్కెటింగ్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ అయితేనేమి, అన్ని రకాలు ఈవెంట్స్ చేస్తూ ఏ విధంగా కమప్ అయ్యారు, మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఈవెంట్ ఎట్లా డెవలప్ చేసుకున్నారు, అది మీతో షేర్ చేసుకోవడానికి తను ఈరోజు మా రిక్వెస్ట్ మీద రావడం జరిగింది. మీకు తెలుసు, అమెరికా నుంచి ఇండియాకి జర్నీ అంటే 30 గంటల జర్నీ, రావడానికి 30 గంటలు, తిరిగి వెళ్ళడానికి 30 గంటలు, ఓన్లీ ఆన్ ఫ్లైట్ జర్నీ 60 గంటలు. ఇది కాకుండా మళ్ళీ అక్కడ లోకల్ బై రోడ్డు, ఇక్కడ లోకల్ బై రోడ్డు, స్టేయింగ్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా దాదాపు మీకు మన ఇండియన్ రూపీస్లో చెప్పాలంటే దాదాపు 2-3 లక్షల రూపాయలు ఖర్చు పెట్టుకొని కేవలం శివ సంకేత్ ప్లస్ మన ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్ మీద ఉండే అభిమానంతో స్టూడెంట్స్కి ఏదో షేర్ చేసుకోవాలనే ఉద్దేశంతో వచ్చారు. ఐ వెల్కమ్ మిస్ సెలెస్టే. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ ఫర్ కమింగ్ ఆల్ ది వే ఫ్రమ్ USA టు ఇండియా. ఆమెతో ఎన్నో రకాల షేరింగ్స్ ఉంటాయి. మామూలుగా ఆమె చెప్పే ప్రతి అంశాన్ని వీలైనంత వరకు క్లాసులో ఎంత శ్రద్ధగా వింటారో అంత శ్రద్ధగా వినమని కోరుతూ ఉన్నాను. థ్యాంక్ యూ వన్ అండ్ ఆల్.
Each one of you. And on that note, I'd request Siva Sanket sir to speak a few words on the occasion.
Good morning, everybody. నేను కరెక్ట్గా ఇక్కడికి వచ్చే ముందర ఐవ్ టోల్డ్ సెలెస్టే ఇన్ ద కార్ దట్ మా స్టూడెంట్స్ వెరీ ఎనర్జెటిక్, పీక్స్లో ఉంటుంది ఎనర్జీ, రచ్చ చేస్తారని చెప్పాను. ఒక్కసారి ఆ ఎనర్జీతో యూ వాంట్ టు గ్రీట్ హర్, ప్లీజ్ విష్ హర్ అ వెరీ గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ విత్ అవర్ ఎనర్జీ లెవెల్స్. సో దాట్ ఈస్ our student Celeste. So on behalf of Rouse Educational Institutions and on behalf of the faculty members, on behalf of our students, our beloved students here, we welcome you and thank you so much for coming here and being here today. And as far as the event goes here today, meeku already mana orientation lo cheppunnanu, anybody who chooses to be there's a lot of degree colleges in Nellore town and you have chosen to be a part of Rouse. And one thing that we can promise and deliver to you in return is to make sure that you'll have a different experience here. And meeru 3 years complete cheskoni bayatiki velletappadiki, I want to make sure that each one of you has some experience and some exposure to become a leader. Part of us, what we do here is to make sure that each one of you will get transformed into a leader. So as a part of that, all these events that we're doing right now, meeku already chala mention chesaru, Radhesham and Harshita, they have told you, they are seniors here, they have told you what they have experienced. Now you're all first years, you've just started your college here. So you have another 3 years. So what I request each one of you is to make sure that as the events are coming up, you just make sure that you're participating in each one of them, getting that exposure, because towards the end of your career, 3 years, what matters is what is on your resume. And why specifically Celeste Madam is because when I did my undergraduation in the US, how I started my friendship with her was she was in the same class that I was. And even though different majors, she did her majors in supply chain and marketing. I was finance and management, but we had similar classes. Konni classes lo same classes unde. So that's how I was able to meet her. At the same time, I can guarantee and tell you that even though she was a student, at that time, I'm sure she was the most hardworking in the friend circle that I had. You were definitely one of the most hardworking persons that I've met. And at the same time, ఒక మేజర్ చదవడమే మనకు చాలా కష్టం. షీ హెస్ డన్ 2-3 మేజర్స్. అండ్ అట్ ద సేమ్ టైమ్ లాస్ట్ 6 yearsలో బీయింగ్ అ ఉమెన్ షీ స్టార్టెడ్ అ career very early, and at the same time now she's being very successful in her career, and we wish and hope that we wish you all the best for your career in the future as well. I won't take any long because we have 45 minutes to complete this interview. Now after me is going to be your executive director, Ms. Shivani Madam, and so I request all of you to please welcome her with a big round of applause to our institutions. And she has done her graduation. Inkoka time lo I'll introduce in detail what she has done and how she has come forward and now how she'll be taking on from here. And we promise to you on behalf of each other that we'll try to serve the best to each one of you and make sure that each one of you will go out with a job after 3 years. Thank you so much, guys. I'll hand over the mic to Shivani Madam.
Good morning, everyone. It's just a privilege to even stand here in front of all of you and to be able to be a part of this institutions. So Rouse as institutions has always strived towards breaking boundaries. The boundaries that we so easily set for ourselves, our main goal is to basically provide you an overall experience, because we truly believe that it's not just the books that you get the knowledge from, it's from the people you meet and the lessons you learn. You guys might have heard before, it's said that the grass is greener on the other side, which basically means that everything that the other person is going through looks so much better than what we're going through currently. So we present to you all the other side that we're all so fascinated by, the other side that we want to know more about. We have with us Celeste, who's going to give us more information about the other side of the world, let us into her life and tell us more about her lifestyle, her experiences, her lessons, so that we all have something to take from here. And I'd just like to say that make notes if you need to, ask questions if something interests you all, and hopefully we all go out more knowledgeable than we entered inside. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing you all a lot more. Thank you.
So this, the whole pattern of the interview, before we start off, I want to explain that. So Tana experience lo, whatever she's been doing in the past 6 years or even before that college lo, dani very casual ga, I'm sure you have seen interviews on stage. So atlage oka dialogue kind of conversation tho we'll be starting this interview. And we have a series of questions, about 17 questions for her to answer today, which are very relevant. While she's answering, I request all of you to please pay attention we'll be explaining again after each round what she's answering. Endukante what experience she has there and what she has gone through college is what's helped her to get into the position here she's sitting here today. So that is what we want you to learn and connect to so that it will be useful for you. So if you're ready, Celeste, we can go ahead and start with the questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So to start off with, the first question to you. I'm sure that you already know that we have introduced you enough here, but we'd like you to introduce yourself, your education and your experience, and what you have done so far.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really happy to be here with you all. But so for my education and work experience, I think they've mentioned some of it already, but I went to Iowa State University where I got my bachelor's in marketing, supply chain management, and Spanish. I then went on to go to Loyola to do my master's in business administration with a concentration in supply chain. And then finally, I recently completed my master's in supply chain from Michigan State University. And then for work experience, I've worked at Target. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the company here, but in the United States, it's a really big retail store. So I've been working with them in different positions in a management capacity. First started off as the apparel manager, went on to do a remodel for them, actually a couple of remodels. And then am now worked in human resources and now am the regional human resources business partner for a golf company and oversee a couple different states. So that's where I'm at now.
I would like to ask you one question. Here actually, for graduation or post-graduation to join any university, we will try to verify which university is the best, which state is the best. But in America, there are so many hundreds of universities are there. Why did you choose particularly Iowa State University?
So for me, it started off when I was in high school. I worked at a place called Medieval Times, which was a place for entertainment. And at that location, there are 9 castles throughout the United States. There was a marketing director that basically was responsible for all marketing for all of the locations. And I thought his job was really interesting and saw a future in it. So then I started looking at marketing programs offered by different universities, and as was mentioned, there are many universities that you can choose from. But Iowa State was one of the universities that came to my high school and made a presentation and built a relationship with the students. And after looking at their marketing program and what they offered, and thinking that it wasn't too far away from home, I decided to go to Iowa State.
Thank you, Celeste. One thing, point that I want to note here is that she said she started working even before you went to college. So you started working in medieval times. So college ante UG meer ippudu etlaithe first lo start chesaru 11th 12th standard lo unnappude she started working somewhere outside apart from their normal academic curriculum tho kaakunda she started working outside. And was it a part-time job that you were doing there? Okay, wonderful. That is something that we need to do. We don't see a lot of that here. But it doesn't matter, any job that you work along with while you are studying, taking part in some sort of part-time job or anything will definitely add to your resume and also make sure that you become a responsible person. That's one point that I noted there. And at the same time, I also chose Iowa State University as my undergraduation, just like she did. Even though she was in the US, ikkad nunchi India nunchi me and another 4 friends we chose that. So every time we choose college, we look for what kind of programs they're running, what kind of education they're giving, what kind of infrastructure they have. These, just like how you chose us, that's how she's chosen, that's what she's explained. And
so we know how big a task it is to just manage studies, because that's a task in itself. So how did you manage to become a leader while you were still studying?
So again, it goes back to my high school experience and my part-time job at Medieval Times. While working there, I started, from the bottom as, a cashier. And then I worked my way up to being a team leader for the sales department. So that had already given me some background. So when I went to be a freshman at Iowa State, I learned of a different leadership role that was also a job. So it was like 2 in 1. And that was being a community advisor, which basically meant that I oversaw 60 students that were freshmen like me, so that was a little bit difficult when going into the interview, knowing that they wanted someone that already had leadership experience and had experience living in the dormitories. So I was able to leverage my past work experience and speak to my experience living in the dormitory so far, and I was able to get that job. So that's basically how, you know, that transition happened, and then I later went on to become a president of one of the clubs at Iowa State as well.
Clubs, Akaruna student organizations, so you were a president. And what was the name of that club?
Multicultural Business Network.
Okay, so like that, మీరు notice చేస్తుంటే మన seniors ఇక్కడ చాలా మంది వాళ్ళు they have formed different student organizations and they were a part of those clubs as well. Very soon you'll have an opportunity. మీ అందరికి club fest ద్వారా మీ అందరికి ఒక organization form చేయడానికి ఛాన్స్ ఉంటుంది. So దాంట్లో all of you can, you know, while you are studying here, you can add all these parts to your leadership roles. That will help you out. Okay? Now, she said that one question to you, Celeste, is that what we feel, మనకి usually మనం ఎందుకు బయట పని చేయలేమంటే మనకి టైం ఉండదు అనుకుంటాం. హాఫ్ డే కాలేజ్కి వెళ్ళిపోద్ది, మనకి టైం ఎక్కడ ఉంటుంది బయట పని చేయడానికి. సో దట్ ఈస్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ద బిగ్గెస్ట్ హ్యాసల్స్ దట్ వీ హ్యావ్. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్, మేము మరీ యంగ్ కదా పని చేయడానికి, దట్స్ అనదర్ క్వశ్చన్. బట్ దట్ ఈస్ నెవర్ ద పాయింట్ హియర్. Making time is what's important to make sure that you balance it, right? So how did you manage time to get involved in work while studying? So that's one of the questions that they have, because we don't have exposure to that. We think that if we are studying right now, it'll become difficult for us to, you know, to even like spend time elsewhere, let it be sports or extracurriculars or anything. So how did you manage time being a leader, being a community advisor, and also doing a part-time job? So how did you manage that? That could help our students, you know?
I think that is a big part of your mindset, like what you think that you have time for and what you don't have time for. I think maybe all of us have the time, but we don't make it. Like, for example, what are you prioritizing? Are you just prioritizing studying, or maybe you want to watch a TV show or hang out with your friends? And all of those things are possible, but if you want to do more, you just have to really structure and be organized and, you know, see like studying is important. I want to get a job after I graduate. So then these are the certain steps that I have to take to get there. And for me, that was, you know, being involved in clubs and stepping up to be a leader, as well as making sure that my education bases were covered, so that, you know, I would be more marketable to different companies once graduating.
One thing that she said was prioritizing. So time ela manage chesukovalante prioritizing, making sure that what is important, what is not important. So మనం ఇంటికెళ్ళి టీవీ షోస్ చూసుకోవచ్చు, తర్వాత సినిమాకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు కాలేజ్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత. సో బట్ హౌ ఎల్స్ కెన్ యూ గెట్ ఇన్వాల్వ్డ్ ఇస్ టు మేక్ షూర్ దట్ కాలేజ్లో ఉన్న ఆపర్చునిటీస్ మీరు లీడర్షిప్ పొజిషన్స్ తీసుకోవచ్చు, ఆర్ యూ కెన్ ఆల్సో వర్క్ ఎట్ ద సేమ్ టైమ్. ఇక్కడంటే మనకి ఫండింగ్ బయట నుంచి వస్తుంది, గవర్నమెంట్ పే చేస్తుంది, లేకపోతే యునో ఆర్ పేరెంట్స్ ఫండర్స్. బట్ దేర్ ఇన్ ద యూఎస్ ఫ్రమ్ 17, వన్స్ ఒకసారి 17 అయిపోయిన తర్వాత యూ హ్యావ్ టు ఫండ్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. సో మీరు కాలేజ్లో చదువుకునే దానికి కూడా యూ హ్యావ్ టు పే ఫర్ యువర్ ఓన్ ఎక్స్పెండిచర్. సో ఫ్రమ్ దెన్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ అ థాట్ ప్రాసెస్ హౌ టు ఎర్న్ దట్ మనీ. So that is why it's a requirement that majority of the students start working. So that's what she was trying to explain here. So setting your priorities is absolutely important, and just make sure right now, since you're in your first year, that's a very good piece of advice. Just make sure that you're prioritizing on what you're doing.
యూజువల్గా మనం పీజీ చేసేటప్పుడు ఏదో ఒక మేజర్ ఆప్షన్ తీసుకుంటాం. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎంబీఏ వాళ్ళు అనుకోండి, మార్కెటింగో, ఫైనాన్సో, లేకపోతే ఇంకొకటి సిస్టమ్స్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఏదో ఒకటి తీసుకుంటారు. బట్ షీ హ్యాస్ టేకెన్ 3 మేజర్స్. ఐ వుడ్ లైక్ టు ఆస్క్ యూ, హౌ కుడ్ యూ మేనేజ్ 3 మేజర్స్ like marketing management, supply chain management, and Spanish? How could you manage that?
I think you guys are in the perfect position to do just what I did or more. So my journey to do the 3 majors started as a freshman. Like I said, I came into Iowa State pursuing a marketing degree. But as a freshman, I wanted to do, make sure that I was maximizing my time, my 4 years at the university. So I researched the different programs available within the business department, and I came across, they all have their strengths, but for me, supply chain management stood out, and there was a lot of work opportunity after graduation, so I thought that would be a good complement for the marketing degree. And for Spanish, I also added that major as a freshman. I am fluent in Spanish and a native speaker, but I think maybe it's similar here, but in the US, students continue to take English classes throughout their college career. So that was the same for me. I basically had only learned, Spanish in elementary school. I knew how to do, reading, writing, speaking it, but I wanted to get the technical piece. So if I was in a business setting, if I needed to translate medical terms or get the grammar correct there, I added that then. So basically, yeah, I just, wanted to make sure that I maximized, and I think if I would have added any of the majors later, maybe as a sophomore or a junior, it would have been a little bit difficult to finish in 4 years, but because I, planned out my classes early on, I was able to accomplish it.
Thank you, Celeste. To translate it in a couple of words, what she said that man usually BBA, BCA and all, we take 1 course, but like that she has taken 3 courses along with working, along with clubs involvement and all that. How she's saying that is whatever discipline that she was interested in, edaithe interested unnindo tanaki, and growth perspective and job perspective. 3 years అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మీరు చేసిన కోర్స్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది ఏ డిపార్ట్మెంట్లో యూస్ఫుల్ అవుద్ది. Ultimately, each and everybody wants to get a job. And for that, how do you build your profile and what kind of courses are you taking that will make yourself marketable in the market once you're done with your graduation? That's what she was trying to explain here. And so you have chosen 1 hour programs. Along with that, you can also take extra classes. Like you just have to manage time and make sure that ఏ skills అయితే required దానికి particular classes తీసుకోవచ్చు.
Rouse lately has become a synonym for placements. We have numerous companies coming in every year, and majority of the students are getting placed. But I want to ask you that as a student, what did you follow through the years that helped you get placed and get a job?
So for me, I think it's been all of the things that we've talked about so far. It was, the majors that I chose, the extracurricular activities I chose to be in, work in leadership positions as well. And, all of those things helped me, get the job. But being the president of the Multicultural Business Network, one of my main responsibilities was contacting companies like Target and John Deere and all of these, other companies to come in and, build that relationship and have them speak to our students about, the opportunities that they had and the different positions available. So for me, that helped me meet managers within Target, and then eventually I ended up getting a job offer before graduation.
మామూలుగా ఉద్యోగం కోసం డిగ్రీ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మన ఇండియాలో మెజారిటీ ఆఫ్ ది పీపుల్ డిగ్రీ పూర్తి అయిపోయిన తర్వాత అప్పుడు చూసుకుందాంలే ఉద్యోగం అని మిగతా టైం అంతా కూడా వీ విల్ బి వేస్టింగ్ అవర్ టైం. బట్ జాబ్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ కోసం షీ యూస్ టు అప్లై మెనీ నంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్కడెక్కడ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ అన్నీ వెరిఫై చేసుకోవడం, వాటిల్లో చాయిస్ చూస్ చేసుకోవడం, అన్ని ఎక్కువ వాటికి కంపెనీస్కి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్కి అటెండ్ కావడం, ఈ రకంగా ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ గెయిన్ చేయడం, ఇవన్నీ ఆ ఆపర్చునిటీ మనం ప్రస్తుతం మన రావుస్ కాలేజీలో మనం అరేంజ్ చేస్తున్నాం. మీకు ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ డిగ్రీలోనే సిపిబి బ్యాచ్ అంటే క్యాంపస్ ప్లేస్మెంట్ బ్యాచ్లో మీకు ట్రైనింగ్ ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. అంటే జాబ్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ వెతుక్కోవడం ఎట్లా అనేది. సెకండ్ ఇయర్లో కొన్ని లాంగ్వేజ్ నేర్పించడం జరుగుతుంది. ఫైనల్ ఇయర్లో వచ్చేసి మీకు బ్యాంక్ కోచింగ్ ఇట్లాంటివి ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. అంతేకాకుండా ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ నుంచే మీరు ఎన్నో కంపెనీస్కి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్కి ఇదే క్యాంపస్లో మీరు ఎక్కడికో బయటకు పోయి ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ ఫేస్ చేయాల్సిన పని లేదు. ఇక్కడే మన రావుస్ క్యాంపస్లోనే ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ ఫేస్ చేయొచ్చు. ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ నుంచే మీరు స్టార్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. అది ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్, సెకండ్ ఇయర్, ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ అయిపోయేటప్పటికి మీరు ప్రతి ఒక్కరూ మినిమం 50 కంపెనీల ఇంటర్వ్యూస్ని ఫేస్ చేయొచ్చు. అప్పుడు యూ విల్ హ్యావ్ చాయిస్. మీకు ఏది బెటర్ అయితే వాటిలో జాయిన్ కావచ్చు. అటువంటి ఆపర్చునిటీస్ మనం ఇక్కడ క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఆ విధంగా తను బిగినింగ్ నుంచే ఈ విధంగా చేయడం జరిగింది, చదువుకునేటప్పటి నుంచే చేయడం జరిగిందని చెప్తున్నారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
So it's been an age-old conversation about how it's very unequal between a man and a woman at a workplace. So I see that there are a lot of girls here, and they say that there's inequality in pay, in position, and different things like that, and they don't really take you very seriously. So being a girl, how did you take command over the workspace, and how did you make sure you took your stance and you got what you deserved?
So it's definitely true that it's not equal. You know, it might be slightly more equal than in other countries, but you still face a lot of challenges being a woman in the workplace and in a leadership position. So, for example, if I'm being assertive and direct to my employees, it will be seen as being most likely bossy or aggressive, to put that nicely. And it's completely the opposite. If it's a male that's being direct and assertive, then it's, you know, they're doing their job correctly. They have a bright future. And, you know, nothing's in question. And, you know, they will do what is asked of them, the employees. But, so for me, what I've learned over the years is, you know, obviously I have the same position as my peer. We're both managers, but maybe he's a male, I'm a female. But my leadership style has definitely been molded a little bit maybe by that. So I still ask the same thing that they ask to be done. You know, I need the job to be done. But I have found that building rapport with your employees and with your peers and supervisors from day one, from the first day that you're, you know, in that role, is really important. And that will really help you later on when you have to have those difficult conversations and give that tough feedback. It's not going to be pleasant, but it's still going to make sure that, you know, it's eased into it. And, you know, when you do have to ask them to do something that maybe they don't want to do, it'll come across easier.
So I know that all of you are going to graduate in the next years to come, and you're going to get jobs. I just want to say one thing, that if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. So make sure you know what you know your value, you ask for your stance, and you stand your position. Please do not give in to anything, and just know your strengths and stand by it.
So the question was basically, there's a lot of inequality in between women and men when it comes to workplace, especially. So అది మనం కార్పొరేట్ వరల్డ్స్లో కూడా చూస్తుంటాం, కార్పొరేట్ కంపెనీస్లో కూడా. సో లాట్ ఆఫ్ ద మనకి 60% ఆఫ్ అవర్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ ఇస్ గర్ల్స్ హూ కమ్ హియర్. అండ్ ఆర్ గోల్ ఇస్ టు మేక్ షూర్ దట్ ఈచ్ వన్ ఆఫ్ యూ ఇస్ ట్రైన్డ్. అండ్ మేడం ఏం చెప్తుండారంటే, ద సేమ్ వే హౌ యూ వుడ్ హ్యావ్ ఫేస్ ద డిఫికల్టీ, ఒక మ్యాన్ కన్నా ఉమెన్ దే విల్ ఫేస్ లాట్ మోర్ డిఫికల్టీ. అది సబార్డినేట్, ఐ మీన్ దేర్ సుపీరియర్తో కావచ్చు, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళు వర్క్ స్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు కావచ్చు. సో అదే ఫస్ట్ నుంచే మీరు మీ వర్క్ మీద కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేసుకుంటూ భయపడకుండా, వాట్ ఎవర్ యు ఆర్ గుడ్ అట్, మెయింటైనింగ్ దట్ కాన్ఫిడెన్స్ అండ్ మూవింగ్ ఫార్వర్డ్ అండ్ డూయింగ్ యువర్ వర్క్ ప్రాపర్లీ ఫ్రమ్ ద బిగినింగ్ చేసుకుంటే, దట్ ఈస్ వాట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు హెల్ప్ యూ. అండ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు స్టే స్ట్రాంగ్ త్రూ అవుట్. జస్ట్ బికాస్ యు ఆర్ ఉమెన్, యూ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ టు స్టెప్ బ్యాక్, యూ హ్యావ్ టు క్లైంబ్ one step extra to make sure that you get there. All right? So that was the question. And then the second question was yours again. Okay, so the next question was, it's a kind of a lead to the previous question that we have here. So the question is, what are some tips you would give to the current generation girls who are dreaming to become corporate leaders? So before you answer that question, I'd like to tell you that it's a lot more difficult in India, especially for the girls to, you know, even face their superiors or even talk their opinion. because the generation that's before, it's difficult for them to be receptive of it. So naturally, when they go to companies or when they go outside, it's difficult for them to face their superiors and even stay in that workplace for a longer time. And there's, I wouldn't say harassment, but for sure there would be some sort of experience that will be bitter for them. So keeping that in mind, how do you think this current generation students here would be prepared for that kind of situations in the future?
So, I mean, I understand, you know, how it is different here, and in a way, there's definitely some similarities over there, but it's still important to, as Shivani mentioned, be confident in, you know, what you know, the skills that you've gained throughout your education, throughout maybe your work experience, and still at the same time be open to learning. You know, we don't know everything, so have that balance. But you know, you should know that you're qualified to do the job that, you know, a male is qualified to do. You know, no one that we look up to has, you know, just gotten there all on their own. They started somewhere just like us, so we just have to, you know, trust that, you know, we are good enough to do the job, and even if we don't check off all those boxes, even if you just present yourself in a way that you know, are being assertive and, you know, confident, then you'll get far.
Okay, so what ఏం చెప్తున్నారంటే basically that whatever you're qualified, మీరు చూసుకుంటే majority of our boards here, our hoardings low, 95%, 99.9% also has been secured by a girl student only here. Every time you see 90% of the hoarding is filled with our girl students. So they're definitely qualified for sure. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is you're working very hard to get to that position. So మీరు అంత కష్టపడి ఆ పొజిషన్కి వస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి being confident is also very important, and you're no less to anybody. Just because of gender, there is no less, you are equal, and all you have to do is to make sure that మీ స్కిల్స్ని వాటి మీద కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేస్తూ మీకున్న టాలెంట్ని పోర్ట్రే చేసి ఏదైతే ఒపీనియన్ మీకుందో ఆ ఒపీనియన్ని ప్రజెంట్ చేయడం. డజంట్ మ్యాటర్ వాట్ పొజిషన్ ద సుపీరియర్ ఇస్, బట్ మేకింగ్ షూర్ దట్ యువర్ ఒపీనియన్ ఇస్ హర్డ్ ఇస్ వాట్స్ ఇంపార్టెంట్.
One more question. People will have different ideas. Somebody wants to become politician, somebody wants to become scientist. But what motivated you to become a leader for an organization? What is the motivation behind that?
So for me, I wanted to challenge myself to step outside of my comfort zone. Maybe you guys also have things that, you know, you're not too comfortable doing, and oftentimes we learn the most out of the things that are not comfortable and challenge us. So I wanted to make sure that I did that. I had not been, you know, in many leadership positions before, and each leadership position is different. You know, the sales team lead role that I had at work back in high school was definitely different than, you know, being, you know, overseeing my peers who were my same age, you know, half girls, half male. That was a different experience. Leading a club as a president was a different experience as well. So even though they're all leadership experiences, they all have, you know, their differences and things that I had not personally experienced. So stepping into those, something that I wasn't necessarily comfortable in, helped prepare me for the workplace.
So the question was ఏం మోటివేట్ చేశారు అనేది. సో ఇట్స్ ఆల్ అ లర్నింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ బేసిక్లీ ఐ థింక్. సో ఎవరికన్నా ఫస్ట్ ఒక లీడర్షిప్ పొజిషన్ తీసుకున్నప్పుడు it's kind of challenging for anybody, that is. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man. So what is important ante making sure that taking that first step, a first step edaithe teeskunta, that is the most challenging one. Okasari tana experience lo what she's saying that she's taken previous company lo sales lead ga undindi, dan tarvata she's become a different company marinappudu the whole structure is different, and then there also she's become a leader there as well for in her department. So wherever you are, ఏ పొజిషన్లో అయితే ఉన్నారో ఆ పొజిషన్లో స్టక్ ఆన్ అయిపోతే యూ విల్ బీ దేర్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ ఎవర్. మేకింగ్ షూర్ దట్ యూర్ ఎయిమింగ్ ఫర్ సంథింగ్ బెటర్, మేకింగ్ షూర్ దట్ యూర్ క్లైంబింగ్ అప్, లుకింగ్ ఫర్ సంథింగ్ బియాండ్ వాట్ యూఆర్ ఆల్రెడీ అట్, అండ్ దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు మేక్ యూ అ లీడర్, అండ్ మేకింగ్ షూర్ దట్ యూ ఆర్ consistently trying to reach that position is what she has said. So the other question was this is kind of similar to the question that we had with, did you ever experience a resistance from you are being a woman, there could have been some, in your workplace you would have had some confrontation with a man who was a leader, who was a superior to you. How did you deal with that situation, and how did it turn out?
Yep, definitely from, I would say I have dealt with more resistance from my peers and supervisors more so than direct employees of mine. So I think one thing I have already mentioned regardless is building that rapport, their relationship with whoever it is that you're working with, whether it's, your direct supervisor or your peer. So for me, what has, worked really well, aside from, building relationships, is having one-on-one conversations. Oftentimes, if you have, conversations, especially if they're difficult ones, they don't go over as well if there is an audience. The other person might feel offended, that you're calling them out when everyone else is there. And, really, what are you accomplishing? Is that what you wanted for everyone else to hear, or did you want that person to change, what they're doing for the future instead of just in one instance? So oftentimes I think one-on-one conversations work best. You let them know, this is, what I disagree with, what I would like to change, see if there's a common ground that you can find. And, we're all different people. We all have different leadership styles, but there, has to be one common ground to move forward. And to do our job, so that works very well. But sometimes it's not possible to have, those one-on-one conversations, and especially if there are instances that have happened, more than once, and the person does not change, then you have no choice maybe than to, let them know that what they're doing is wrong on the spot. Even if there are people around, but it is important to be able to read the situation, make sure that you're not out of line, you're not being disrespectful, but you do know that what they're doing is not correct, and you're letting them know. And what I have found is, they often, pull me to the side and they say, I'm so sorry, that wasn't, what I meant. And whether it was what they meant or not, they saw that what they were doing was wrong. And if I would have, for example, stepped back and said nothing, they would have continued to do it again and again. So it is important, to step up and let them know, what is right, what is wrong. Because if you let it keep on happening, they're going to think that it's okay.
I think what she's cheppinadi very important idi. When you're working in a workplace, oka place lo pan chesetappudu, sometimes you have opinions from superiors. Absolutely, that this is not right. Like with the public lone, they can tell you, okay, this is not wrong, but this is not right. And cheppinappudu, it's important that you. There's two ways that she said is best to tackle that problem. So one is personally going and talking to them and saying that adi not okay, adi valloku vallu edanna meeku public lo cheppunte, telling them it's not okay. And second thing is making sure that public lone edapudanna meeku alanti experience jariginappudu in front of everyone, letting them know that it is not okay to speak to them like that. So at the same time, our situation read cheyagalagala chuttupakkala evaru unnaru entani mee seniors ki mee elders ki disrespectful ga undamani kaadu, but making sure that whatever they have said is not okay మీకు అనేది very important. So మీ voice ఏదైతే ఉందో, if you think it's not right for you, make sure that that is heard. This is especially when you're working in corporate companies. Another very important question is, how do you negotiate your salary, or how do you the question ikkada before she answers it, మనం కంపెనీకి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు లేకపోతే మనం హెచ్ఆర్స్తో మాట్లాడేటప్పుడు 3 years వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత దే ఆఫర్ మీ టాలెంట్ని, మీ కెపాసిటీని చూసి వాళ్ళ అసెస్మెంట్ బట్టి వాళ్ళు ఒకటి ఆఫర్ చేస్తారు. దట్ ఈస్ వన్ థింగ్. And then you know what your capacity and you know what your calibers are, and then you do a counter offer. So మీరు ఒక కంపెనీ కూర్చున్నప్పుడు 3 years అయిపోయిన తర్వాత, how do you negotiate the salary once you're been offered? So how did you do it? So what do you think would be a best way of negotiating for a salary?
So for me, I think researching the other jobs that are similar to the one that you're accepting is really important. Knowing, what the other jobs are requiring, for that position, and knowing what the compensation is as well. And that's not always easy to do, but, I think through comparison and research and maybe speaking to others in the industry, you will be able to get a good gauge of, is this salary, something that's comparable to the industry, or are they paying me too little? Or maybe you value benefits, medical, more, or vacation PTO time. So maybe if they're not willing to, give you more salary, are you able to get more time off? So I think it's good to do your research, speak to, the network that you have created and built, and also know what's important to you. Are you, wanting, more salary, or are you wanting more benefits? So that's important as well, and, being able to, ask for that as well, not being afraid to ask for a higher salary. And, the worst that they can say is, no, we can't do it. But oftentimes they'll meet you in the middle or very close to what you've asked for.
సో తను చెప్పింది ఏంటంటే, మనకి ఒక కంపెనీకి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు మనకు ఒకవేళ సపోజ్ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక 25,000 ఆఫర్ చేశారు, అండ్ దెన్ యూ క్యాన్ జస్ట్ స్ట్రైట్ అప్ సే దట్ నాకు ఒక 50,000 ఇస్తే కానీ నేను పని చేయను. దట్స్ నాట్ ద రైట్ వే. బట్ ద మెథడ్ దట్ షీ సెడ్ ఇస్, మీరు కంపెనీని చూస్ చేసుకునే ముందరే ఏ పొజిషన్కి అయితే అప్లై చేస్తున్నారో ఆ పొజిషన్ డిఫరెంట్ కంపెనీస్లో ఎంత ఆఫర్ చేస్తున్నారు అది రీసెర్చ్ చేయడం. దానికన్నా ఈ కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు ఇంత తక్కువ ఆఫర్ చేస్తుంటే ఇంకేమైనా మెడికల్ బెనిఫిట్స్ ఏమైనా ఇస్తున్నారా, ఎక్స్ట్రా పెయిడ్ టైం ఆఫ్ ఏదైనా ఇస్తున్నారా, వీటిని కంపేర్ చేసుకోవడం. వీటిని కంపేర్ చేసుకొని ఒకవేళ తక్కువ ఆఫర్ చేస్తుంటే మిగతా కంపెనీ వాళ్ళు ఇది ఆఫర్ చేస్తున్నారు కాబట్టి అది మైండ్లో పెట్టుకొని ఆ అమౌంట్ కోసం అడగడంలో తప్పేం లేదు. సో అబ్సల్యూట్లీ you should be able to do your research before going to that particular company and compare చేసుకొని ఆ అమౌంట్ కోసం టార్గెట్ చేసి అడిగి somewhere మీ వాళ్ళు ఆఫర్ చేసిన దానికి మీరు అడిగిన దానికి somewhere it will fall in between that.
Confident about what you know and what you don't is one thing, but I feel like sometimes you can get through things if you're confident. So what steps did you take to build your confidence over your career?
So for me, I think personally, confidence really comes from what I know. If I don't feel like I know a subject very well or the job that I'm being asked to do, then my confidence wavers. So when I am confident, I make sure that, I've studied, I've, done the work, and, I'm presenting the best version of myself and the best work that I can put forward. So I think for me that's, how I build my confidence, and obviously through experience, you'll become more confident as you go along.
For the past few days, maybe 1 week at maximum, you have spent in India. What is your experience in India?
I have loved being here in the country. The people, the culture, the food, just the experiences have all been amazing, and I've really loved my time here. It's been unforgettable, and I'm very thankful for technology and social media to be able to keep in touch with the people that I have met and to cherish the memories that I have made.
Talking about food, Ria's mutton biryani is really nice here. So before you go, I'll recommend you to have that.
So they say that our generation is the generation that wants it all. We want to enjoy, but we want to earn a lot. We want to follow our heart, but we also want to do the typical stuff. So coming from a generation like that, how do you balance it all? Passion, work, and personal life?
I definitely think some people are better at doing this than others. And when I first started working, I was terrible at having balance. So, as you go along and you work, you accrue vacation time and PTO time. But I just let it accrue. I barely took any days off. I just, continued to work. And I worked so much that my PTO didn't even roll over to the next year because it was maxed out. So I think that's when I came to the realization of, wow, I'm not really getting paid, for what I signed up for. I'm cheating myself out of, either my salary, my benefits, all of the above. So I think I learned that, I need to take time for me. And, sometimes your boss, depending on the job, doesn't want to let you have time off. And they act as if, the PTO time that you have work to accrue is, they're giving it to you out of their own pocket. But you have to understand that that's not the case. You're doing your part in working, but you should also do your time in taking time off for yourself, for your family, if you want to, just stay home or travel. But I definitely think that it exists. It is possible. You just have to make the time for it and, make sure that you're getting, what you signed up for, your pay, your benefits.
Finally, this is the last question. Finally, of course, you have given so many things to our students. What is your final advice you give to the students here?
I think it might be cliche, but I have found it to be very true, which is, you are your own biggest competition. If you, think that you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. If you think that, hey, this is possible for me, I'm going to, work to achieve, where I want to go, you can definitely do that. But, you comparing yourself to others is not going to do anything. They're not going to stop you, but you're going to stop yourself. So don't let that happen. Be your own biggest cheerleader, and you will, get to where you want to go.
Thank you so much, Celeste. So what she said is one piece of advice. పక్కన వాళ్ళతో కంపేర్ చేసుకునే దానికన్నా పక్కన వాళ్ళు ఎంత పైకి వెళ్తున్నారు మనకు ఆ టెండెన్సీ ఉంటుంది కొంచెం. దాంట్లో కంపేర్ చేసుకోవడం కన్నా ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ టు ఫోకస్ ఆన్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్, మేకింగ్ షూర్ దట్ ఈరోజు మనం ఏ స్టేజ్లో ఉన్నాం, రేపు ఏ స్టేజ్లో ఉండాలి, ఇంకెంత మనం ఇంప్రూవ్ అవ్వగలుగుతాం. దట్ ఈస్ యువర్ బిగ్గెస్ట్ కంపీట్ అగేన్స్ట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్, నాట్ అగేన్స్ట్ సంబడి ఎల్స్ ఆర్ థింకింగ్ వాట్ దే ఆర్ డూయింగ్, ఎక్కడికి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నారు అన్నట్టు కాకుండా ఫోకస్ ఆన్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ అండ్ యూ విల్ రీచ్ దేర్ సమ్ డే. దట్ ఈస్ వాట్ ద ఫైనల్ పీస్ ఆఫ్ అడ్వైస్ వర్. And
ఇప్పటిదాకా మిస్ సెలెస్టే మీకు ఇచ్చినటువంటి సో మెనీ థింగ్స్, ఈ అడ్వైస్ అన్నీ కూడా యూ కెన్ అగైన్ అఫ్ కోర్స్ కొన్ని ఆస్పెక్ట్స్ స్లాంగ్ మే నాట్ బీ ఏబుల్ టు యాక్సెంట్ మనం రిసీవ్ చేసుకోలేకపోయి ఉండొచ్చు. అటువంటి రిపీటెడ్గా చూడడానికి యూ కెన్ గో త్రూ విజిట్ అవర్ వెబ్సైట్, యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్లో మన rausinstitutions.com ఇందులో చూడవచ్చు. మీరు మీ పేరెంట్స్కి చెప్పండి, నెక్స్ట్ మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్కి చెప్పండి, మీ జూనియర్స్కి చెప్పండి, మీ సీనియర్స్కి చెప్పండి, సో దట్ వాట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ థింగ్స్ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ ఆన్ ఇన్ రావుస్ ఎడ్యుకేషనల్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్. అండ్ దిస్ ఈజ్ ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్లీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో అందరికీ ప్రతి కాలేజీలో కూడా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇస్తున్నారు. ఇన్ అడిషన్ టు ద ఎడ్యుకేషన్ వాట్ యాక్చువల్లీ వీఆర్ ఆఫరింగ్ ఇన్ రావుస్ అనేది ఎస్పెషలీ యూ మైట్ హ్యావ్ డెఫినెట్లీ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్డ్ అండ్ విట్నెస్డ్. ఆల్రెడీ మీరు చూస్తున్నారు, మీ సీనియర్స్ని కనుక్కుంటే వాళ్ళే చెప్తారు. అండ్ మిమ్మల్ని ఫైనల్గా ఇక్కడి నుంచి నేను చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే, స్టార్ట్ కాంపిటీటివ్ స్పిరిట్ ఫ్రమ్ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్. ఎప్పుడో ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత డిగ్రీ పాస్ అయ్యాక చూసుకుందాం అని అనుకోవద్దు. చదువుతో పాటు అడిషనల్ థింగ్స్, జీకే అయితేనేమి, నెక్స్ట్ ఒక కంపెనీకి అప్లై చేయడానికి ఒక రెజ్యూమ్ ప్రిపరేషన్ అయితేనేమి. కొన్ని చోట్ల డిగ్రీ అయిపోయిన వాళ్ళు కూడా రెజ్యూమ్ ప్రిపరేషన్ కూడా చేత కాదు. అటువంటి ప్రతి ఒక్కటి కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్కి పోవాలంటే ఫస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ఆల్ మామూలుగా ఈ రిటన్ టెస్ట్ ఉంటుంది, అందులో జనరల్ మ్యాథమెటిక్స్, సింపుల్ మ్యాథమెటిక్స్, అర్థమెటిక్ ఉంటుంది, నెక్స్ట్ కొన్ని జీకే క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటాయి, కొన్ని కాంపిటేటివ్ క్వశ్చన్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా ట్రైన్ చేయడానికి మీరు అన్ని రకాలుగా యూ కెన్ హ్యావ్ గైడ్ ఫ్రమ్ ది రావుస్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ అండ్ యూ కెన్ ఫాలో అవర్ వెబ్సైట్. అండ్ ఫర్ గివింగ్ ఆల్ దీస్ థింగ్స్ I mention many more thanks to Miss Celeste. Thank you so much for all the way coming over by crossing all the seas and making a journey of hours together, coming to India. And you have mentioned very good about Indians culture, Indians food and everything, and Indians behavior and their response, everything you have mentioned. Thanks a lot for that. Thank you so much, Celeste. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions from the students and then we'll wrap this up.
I'm sure all of you have heard what ma'am has said. Ma'am, following on the same note, I'd like to ask ma'am, what were the particular struggles that you faced in the pandemic, and how did you prepare as an HR manager for that?
Hello? Okay. So COVID definitely has presented a lot of different barriers, especially for, human resources. There are a lot of things that we have to comply with, by state, by county, by city. They're all very different, and all of the different requirements, and especially as COVID first started out, there were a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that, just came out, and you had to jump and, make it happen to make sure that your employees and your guests, who were, doing business with you were also safe. So I think it's just all about being resilient and making sure that you're informed and, also at the same time presenting a positive and confident attitude towards, everyone that you're working with, because if you're afraid, they're definitely going to be afraid. So just making sure that you're doing your part and keeping them safe and, answering any of concerns that they might have as well.
Ma'am, it is funny that you make it seem difficult, ma'am, but going through your resume, ma'am, we saw that you actually contributed to 2% increase in difficult times as well. So that is remarkable. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I do have a question, ma'am. Can you please let me know what would you do when you got stressed out? I mean, what is your distraction?
My distraction?
Yes.
I feel like for me, if it's, personal distractions, I think it's sometimes doubt, self-doubt can be a distraction. It might, deter you from where you want to go. But if we're talking maybe entertainment, I don't know, I'd love to watch a good TV show, make time for that. But, I also have to make sure that I've completed everything that I, set myself to do, if it's, work or personal, before, indulging.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Ajay. Ma'am, I would like to ask one question. Today, nowadays, different countries providing different courses for Bachelor Commerce students. Like in Canada, CSI, Canadian Securities course. If we can go their countries and we can study that groups and that courses, how can we manage and how can we do the opportunities of jobs? If you can explain that courses for an opportunity to grow our careers, our best future.
No, don't see. I think
please keep quiet.
Being brave, and please give him a big round of applause for. Thank you for asking that question. The question was basically for students who are looking out to go for the US or Canada or anywhere outside the US, how do you think they would benefit from going there? What kind of opportunities or job opportunities do they have there once coming from here? I think it's more of a question from this side, going from India, but what kind of opportunities would they have? I think how you can answer is basically, are they welcoming there, or would they have the diversity issues, or those kind of topics? I think you can relate to these.
I think you know, the United States is definitely welcoming in general. We are very diverse. It definitely depends on where in the U.S. you go. Like if you go to a city, even Iowa State, though, it got populated 30,000 with just students. But I think, you know, there are many programs, even within the universities, that are very inclusive to, you know, people that are not from the United States. Like at Iowa State, we saw people from all over the world. We saw people from China, from India, from, Ecuador, just so many different countries. And, you know, there are, even if, you know, the certain majors are more, have less of another country, less students from another country. There are definitely also many different opportunities club-wise that either students build or are already in place. And there are a lot of programs too that allow us to be immersed and inclusive. Like for example, even though I've grown up in the United States, there was a program that I went into that allowed me to be there 2 months before the rest of the freshmen went in. So that allowed me to acclimate to Iowa State University before 30,000 came in. Maybe it was just 1,000 or 5,000. And yeah, the students are super welcoming. I think you would have a great experience, you know, coming, you know, from here and going there, and a lot of opportunity for sure.
So what madam is telling is, manaki akkadiki ikkada etla aithe mee experience untado atlage they are very welcoming. It could be a little bit scary in the beginning, starting lo koncham scary ga undochu, but akkadiki ellin tarvata it's just like you are moving to a new place. Nellore nunchi Chennai ki etla aithe veltavo kottaga untado, same thing, it's from here a little bit, you're just crossing the oceans, but people there are very receptive, very open, very welcoming. And also you'll have a lot of opportunities. Adi ikkad nunche you'll have to start planning on how you can, what kind of programs are offered. And chaala mandi mana India nunchi veltunnaru ippudu. So what you want to do is do your research on what universities are offering, what kind of resources they have, akkada placements etla unnai, what kind of job placement rate etla undi, I chuskoni then you can go forward.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I was interested in financial marketing and BBA course. So I heard that you're connected with the target as well. So I would like to know, because I have been knowing to and pursuing the career through US states. So I would like to know what are the tips or things that I have to pursue during the graduation that can be useful for me in the future.
He's pursuing in BBA kadana ippudu. No, so he's doing a Bachelor of Business Administration, which is very similar to the business courses that we have there. So he's asking what kind of tips that you would give for him to pursue his master's or PG program in the US. That could help. Yeah, to go into the PG program to the US, since I'm sure you have done your master's too. So what would he do here in undergraduation that would help him out for him to choose a PG course in the US?
I think everything is important. I think, you know, making sure that, you know, your grades are good is one for sure. Any opportunities that, you know, the college provides for you to be involved, if it's a club or, you know, an event like this, or for you to, you know, step up and be a leader in some way, shape, or form is definitely important, and they look at it. And I think building relationships with your professors, you know, especially in the courses that you do really well in, and maybe is even related to the masters that you want to go into, will be important, because they will have to write recommendation letters for you. If it's, you know, at the college or somewhere that you've already worked, you know, having those good relationships and them being willing to write those recommendation letters for you is going to be really important.
That's a wonderful point. So anybody who is planning to pursue MBA gani lekapothe MSc gani bayatiki veldam anukunte, it is absolutely important for you to have relationship with the staff members, your faculty members, because ప్రతి యూనివర్సిటీకి నువ్వు అప్లై చేసేటప్పుడు లెటర్ ఆఫ్ రికమెండేషన్స్ అడుగుతారు, కనీసం 2 ఫ్యాకల్టీ మెంబర్స్ నుంచి. నువ్వు అది ఏ యూనివర్సిటీకి అప్లై చేసినా కూడా బయట. సో హ్యావింగ్ దట్ గుడ్ రిలేషన్ విత్ ది faculty members, at the same time being involved on campus. Ivi points and in first year nunchi aithe evaithe involve ayi untavo, at the same time neeku elanti rapport mana faculty members onni grades gaanivandi ivanni first nunchi nu focus cheskunte, and entrance exams untai, like GMAT aithe MBA ki, GRE aithe MS ki, atla different entrance exams untai. But from first, what you want to concentrate on right now is maintaining that good relation with the faculty members and participating in all the events that possible, building a profile over the years you are here. Right. Thank you, Celeste. Girls.
ఇప్పుడు దాకా మాట్లాడిందంతా కూడా మనం బీయింగ్ ఏ ఉమెన్, కెరియర్, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఎలా చేశారు, కెరియర్లో ఎట్లా డెవలప్మెంట్ అయ్యారు, ఉద్యోగం చేసేటప్పుడు ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఫేస్ చేసినప్పుడు వాటిని ఎట్లా ఎదుర్కొన్నారు, ఎలా స్టెప్స్ ఎక్కారు, ఇవన్నీ ఉమెన్ గురించే ఎక్కువగా చెప్పింది. మీకు ఇందాకే శివ చెప్పాడు, మన యూనివర్సిటీ ర్యాంక్స్లో చూడండి, బోర్డులో 10-20 ఫోటోలు ఉంటే 20లో మినిమం 90% గర్ల్సే ఉంటున్నాయి, ఓన్లీ 20% బాయ్స్ ఉంటున్నాయి. ద రీజన్, మీరు చదువు వరకు బాగా చేస్తున్నారు కానీ చదవడం వరకే, అంతవరకే వదిలేస్తున్నారు. ఆ తర్వాత పెనిట్రేటింగ్, చొచ్చుకొని పోవడం, లీడర్షిప్ క్వాలిటీసు, తిరిగి ధైర్యంగా ఏదైనా సరే మాట్లాడడం, ఇవన్నీ అలవర్చుకోవాలి. అది ఇక్కడి నుంచైనా కనీసం ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ డిగ్రీ నుంచైనా స్టార్ట్ చేయండి. సో వన్స్ అగైన్ ఐ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఎనీ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది గర్ల్ ఫ్రమ్ యువర్ సైడ్ టు ఆస్క్ వన్ క్వశ్చన్. మీరు తెలుగులో అడిగినా పర్లేదు, తెలుగులో అడిగినా పర్లేదు. ఇవ్వండి సార్, ఆ పాప మైక్
Good afternoon, ma'am. My name is Kavya. I am from BBA first year. Ma'am, can I know who is your inspiration?
Now repeat the question once again.
Who is your inspiration?
So who is your inspiration?
So for me, it has always been, and I think it will always be, my mom. She came from Mexico, a completely different country, to the United States, where she knew no one. She had, no support system there, and she has built a life for myself and my sister that, we could have only, dreamed of. So I think, thanks to everything that I've seen her do, whether it's been work 3 jobs or, make sure that, we had our education, and continue to push and support us through everything that, we want to do. And, if we think that we can't get there, she's like, yes, you can. So I think, she is definitely my role model.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is B. Kavya from BBA. You studied in your education time many courses. Which you like most?
There was a marketing course that I took in Italy when I studied abroad. And that professor was really engaging, and he had a lot of different stories from all over the world. He had worked in Africa and different parts of the world, and with different leadership styles, and that course was really interesting to me. So I would say that one was my favorite. It was basically like global marketing.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Myself Aishwarya from BCom. I would like to ask you what you have learned from your career.
What I have learned from my career? I think what I have learned from my career is that, again, the advice that I left you guys with is I am my own biggest competition. I think it's so easy to see, oh, my peer that I, went to school with is doing this, and, they have this position, or, all of these women that are also, in CEO positions or director positions, and you're like, when am I going to get there? Am I doing everything right? What should I be doing to get there? And I think it's just you being confident in yourself and know that you can do it. and stop comparing yourself to everyone else, because you're unique. You have your own skills and assets to bring forward and to the table, and just owning that will make you be successful and essentially happier with yourself as well in the life that you lead.
Thank you so much, Celeste, for coming all the way from the US and sharing your valuable experience here. And I'm sure a lot of our students would learn a lot from what you've said and will change their lives from today and start acting on it as well. And we hope that we'll see you soon again in India every year, hopefully. And as you have come here, I hope that you have enjoyed in India and you have had a great time here. And we can't express to you how thankful we are here for you to be here today. Thank you so much once again. On behalf of our students, our faculty members, and Rouse Educational Institutions, thank you so much.
I'd like to thank you again, ma'am, for giving us this opportunity. And looking at the questions, it is very evident, sir, that they've keenly listened to it. That is a rarity, of course. So I think it is time to... भारत माता की भारत माता की On this very note, we have the US national anthem just to honor our guest. So sorry, ma'am, we won't be able to sing along.